I think we're here to struggle and to learn. I don't think we're here to be happy. That's why when we keep going back to the happy argument, I've always found that kind of frustrating and annoying. And someone goes, oh, but I want to be happy. Why? Why? Why do you want to sit there and laugh? Like you were happy your entire childhood. That's your happy days. You're allowed to be happy as a kid. Finished. It's all over now, right? You're a man. You have responsibilities. I think we're here to do important. Provide, protect, and we're also here to do important things. And important things are going to be difficult, and they're going to be hard, and you're going to get frustrated. But that's what gives you purpose. I don't see anyone who's chasing happiness. I think that's a very feminine frame. I understand why some women just want to be happy. I don't know how it feels to be a girl because I'm not one. But in my experience, I know women who just want to be happy. Yeah. Girls just want to have fun. Fine. But you're a man, right? And if you're a man, then it's absolutely an utterly different experience of life. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to endure pain. Yeah. I think we're here to just see how hard we are to kill. I think that going through terrible things and living through them and coming out the other side is one of the most fantastic things about being human. I think that it's almost like once you understand what life is really about, there's no emotion which isn't enjoyable. The only emotional state which can be seen as detrimental is feeling nothing at all. But if you're sitting at home and you're feeling truly heartbroken, at least you're feeling something, right? And I think that's the whole part of being human. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to go through pain. That's so I wake up each day and go, what can I attack? What problem can I solve? And look at history. Why did Genghis Khan wake up and want to conquer the whole world? Why did Napoleon conquer the world? Why did Alexander the Great conquer the world? You just wake up and just say, give me this, give me that. I want all of it. I need to, there's an army there. They're really big. We're better. It's intrinsic. You need to go and conquer. That's the purpose of it. I think that any emotion you feel should be converted into positive influence. Yeah, you should do good things with any emotion you feel. I can't. What else are you going to do with it? And this is a genuine question. Yeah. What else? If let's say your wife breaks your heart. If you're not going to work, you can't sleep anymore. You're upset. She's running around with a new dude. You see her Instagram story. She's got some new guy. You're furious and you're angry and you're jealous and you're bitter. You have all of this inside of you, but you're not going to go to the gym and work hard and become so fantastically in shape and so rich and so powerful that no girl ever leaves you again. You're not going to do that. No. What are you going to do with it? Text her? Try and explain to her. She doesn't care. Like you can write the most perfect English. You can write the most beautiful words ever constructed. Forget Shakespeare. You can do. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She just doesn't care. She's distracted. She forgot about you. She forgot about you. So what are you going to do with all of that inside of you if it's not positive? Well, it's going to consume you, and you're going to end up self-destructive, or you're going to embarrass yourself, or you can take all of that and put yourself in a position where it never happens to you again. Yeah. Those are the choices. So what's the most intelligent choice to make? Yeah. You know, I don't understand how many humans function in the world today. I don't get people who don't think like me. I don't understand it. I'm like, well, then how have you survived this long? Life is hard. Life is difficult. Maybe I've just been unlucky, which I don't believe in, but I've had so much trauma and bad events and negativity and stress and all these things that have happened to me, and I've used all of it to be monumentally successful. If I wasn't that way inclined with the workload that God put on my shoulders, I'd just be in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. I'd would have killed myself by now. Like, I don't understand how people are functioning. If you're not thinking like me and you're going through life with any other mindset, you've been extremely fortunate that God smiled on you and allowed you to sit around most of the time doing jack shit, and you have yet to be punished for that. Yeah. I could never have lived that life. If I was a bit lazy or a bit, or I was a bit of a snake, or if I lied to people, I'd be dead by now. Yeah. Like, so a lot of these people are just absolutely and utterly blessed by God that they managed to go through life with such a non-competitive mindset and they still breathing. Like, I don't understand how people can think any other way. Yeah. I've spoken to dudes and like, I had a bad couple months. Why? My girl left me. You've wasted months? You've wasted months over some. Like, you had think of how much God loves you to have given you the grace and given you the opportunity to waste months of human time over some chick. Like, talk about blessed head to toe. If I waste months, empires are going to collapse. I'm going to end up in a cell or dead if I waste months. I have things to do every single day. I can't waste a second. Yeah. Like, these people are just absolutely infinitely blessed, and their mindset is a product of that because they're spoiled children. absolutely spoiled children. If you're going through life with any other mindset besides a hyper competitive one, where you're capable of competing with some of the most dangerous men on the planet in all their forms, me and my network, and also my competitors. If you don't have that mindset, then you have to understand that you are spoiled. You're spoiled by your reality, because there's a whole bunch of people out here daily who fail. There are men out here who fail daily, and they have yet to feel the true consequence for it. They fail to go to the gym when they know they should have gone to the gym. They fail because they forgot their keys and it took them 10 minutes to find them. They fail because they replied to a question they got sent on WhatsApp the wrong way. They fail because they didn't smile when they were supposed to. They didn't say please and thank you to that person who helped them. They fail because they didn't say hi to that girl who's looking at them out the corner of their eye. They just fail perpetually. They go through life missing every opportunity and just failing. And somehow we've built a society which is so soft and God is so giving and so graceful that they still have a place to eat and somewhere to sleep, and they're still surviving. That shows how nice God is, because before this society, truthfully, if you were that level of failure, you would be dead.
Survival of the fittest.
It's survival of the fittest, and none of these men out here are fit. No. Their mindset isn't fit. Their reality isn't fit. They're failures. They're failures, and they're just failing every single day. I'm like, oh, but you know what? Tomorrow I'll go to the gym. You've been failing your whole life. That's all you've done is fail. And then you sit and wonder why people like me absolutely and utterly outcompete you. It is so easy to become a top tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low. There are 2% killers like me, and everybody else is amateur, head to toe amateur. They can't even pay attention to anything. They can't try at anything. They're amateurs. And it's really mind-blowing to me, because I've tried with all of my computational power to imagine having a mindset different to mine. And I just can't see a reality worth having. I can't see a reality worth living. I can't see how you're going to build a life worth experiencing if you have any other mindset. I can't see it. Yeah. I've never met somebody with a fantastic life who did not completely and utterly believe in themselves. I've never seen somebody massively succeed and they didn't believe in themselves, ever. I've never seen somebody who just allows life to happen to them and become blown off course by some sadness, end up doing massively monumental and important things. I've never seen it.
It's never happened.
It does, and it's never going to happen, because it's competitor. It's like crypto. It's player versus player.
Right.
And there's people like me out here. So when that breaks your heart and you take a few months off and she ends up on my jet and I get rid of her and I don't give a shit. Yeah, that's right. And if she leaves me afterwards, let's say she just likes to leave men, I don't care. Yeah. I'm still working. You're still crying. You can't possibly ever beat me. I will continue to beat you into eternity, as will my bloodline. You will sit and pay the price for the rest of your human years. Even your ancestors above you are disappointed in you, and your offspring for the rest of your lineage will look up and say, my great-great-great-grandfather was a loser because I broke his heart, and now we've been broke ever since. Yeah. I'll tell you why I'm absolutely lucky, and I don't want to give too many details away, but in my previous life, I was certainly I knew some very dangerous people. I've done some dangerous things. There's been a few expose documentaries on the kind of things I was involved in previously. I've had attempts on my life. People have tried to stab me. I've had people try to kill me. I've had members of my family attempts on them. I've had a very certainly difficult life. I don't consider any of the mental stress of this recent Matrix attack anywhere near comparable to the physical altercations and things that have happened to me. But the reason I'm the luckiest man on earth is because God has given me endless building blocks to build a superhero. He's given me endless power. He's given me endless motivation. What did we say? Yeah. He's given me I have endless sources of power. I can sit here right now and recall events that will prevent me from sleeping for 2 to 3 days. That gives me a superpower that other men do not have. They want to go to sleep. They're tired. I can stop being tired for days at a time. I can just have a thought. I can remember. I can sit, close my eyes, and use the power of my brain to vividly remember events, and I will not sleep for days. I've never tried cocaine in my life. I've never tried weed in my life, ever. Wow. I drink a lot of coffee. I smoke cigars, bit of vodka, but I've never tried a narcotic in my life. Wow. So God has given me an endless source of power. And when people come to me and say, oh, this happened, I'm really sad, or my heart broke, or this bad thing happened to me, I say, good. Thank the Lord that he's given you this endless source of motivation. You're wasting it. Yeah. That's your problem. But it's been given to you. Nitrous oxide has been given to you. You just have to use it in the correct way. So I'm the luckiest man in the world because all the bad things that happened to me have given me all the building blocks to become the most fantastic man on the face of the planet. Yeah. Well, the reason I don't touch any narcotics at all is because, firstly, I was a professional athlete and my blood was tested. Okay. I'm now 35 years old without ever having tried a drug ever. Is there any point in starting now? No. I've lived my whole life without ever trying these things. Why start now? Yeah. Also, when I look at some of the most most degenerate, stupid, ridiculous people on the planet.
They're all drug users.
They all use drugs. It's not very often I meet a man who's completely head to toe, has his life in order, and he likes drugs. A lot of rich people take cocaine, yes, and I do know them and some of them, but I still think they'd be better without cocaine.
Yeah.
You know, that's just genuinely a vice. But if you go to a festival full of brokies, full of peasants and peons, full of people who don't try very hard at life, and they sit there and they idolize these false idols given to them by the Matrix, and they stand in a crowd full of millions of other people like an insignificant peasant and jump up and down, wow, Diplo, wow, whoever.
Skippism,
yeah, just complete peasant mindset. If you look at these people and say, do you like drugs? Guess what they say?
I love it.
Oh, yeah. So I don't want to go anywhere near the peasantry, right?
Yeah.
So, because that's what it is. It's disgusting and it's peasantry. So that's why I don't take drugs. And the reason I don't like vape is because I don't think that vape is even remotely natural. Because a tobacco is a plant, okay, cool. But if you manage to put chemicals inside of a little container that tastes like blueberry ice.
Yeah.
What even is blueberry ice?
Yeah.
It's not even a flavor. It's just words.
Yeah.
And then you taste it and you go, that does taste like blueberry ice.
Yeah.
How did they pull that off? Yeah. I can't believe it's possibly good for me. Add in the price that it cost. Add in the fact that it costs $1. And comes deep from the heart of China. You think they give a shit about the West just puffing away on this petrochemical? They don't care.
They're happy.
Yeah. So if you're going to smoke, at least smoke something. It was grown.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I smoke is not because I'm addicted, because I have an iron mind and I can blink and cure my brain and stop smoking completely. In fact, when there's certain places I go to in the world where I don't smoke for months at a time. I'm not addicted to anything. The reason I smoke is because nicotine is good for your testosterone level.
Okay.
That's the reason I smoke. I smoke because I like the drug of nicotine, because nicotine is actually positive. The reason I drink coffee is not because I'm addicted, because caffeine is a miracle drug.
Yeah.
Caffeine
it's good for your heart.
Caffeine's a miracle.
Yeah.
I drink endless coffee, and of course the Matrix will come along and say too much coffee is bad for you, too much meat's bad for you. They say anything to make you weak and stupid.
Yeah.
Caffeine, people don't understand that coffee changed the world. Before coffee and caffeine, we were we were living our lives in rhythm with the sun. We got up when the sun came up, we went down when the sun came down.
We couldn't go against it.
We didn't go against it very much. With the Industrial Revolution and caffeine, the introduction of caffeine, we now had night shifts, we now had double shifts. Think about this. If a job introduces a coffee break, if a company says, stop working and drink this coffee, that's because the coffee you have is worth the time they let you not work, because you make up for it plus some. That's how powerful it is. And what's actually interesting about me is when I think back, my entire reality is caffeinated. I haven't been awake without caffeine in years.
Yeah.
I drink coffee every single day. So I thought about this and I thought, maybe life's better without caffeine. So I took a week off of coffee.
Yeah.
And there was zero advantage. I didn't sleep any better.
Yeah.
I felt pissed off. I didn't feel like I could focus as well. I was more tired, but I couldn't sleep any better. It was weird. I was just like, this isn't me. Now, obviously, I'm still a hyper-competitive individual. I still went to the gym. I still did my work. I'm still the top G. But I didn't feel as good.
No benefits.
There was no benefits.
Yeah.
So after a week, I had a cup of coffee, and it was like, the miracle is back. It's develop a coffee addiction. It's fantastic. There's nothing bad about caffeine. I have 10 to 15 coffees a day every single day, and I will do to the day I die. And so just to finish off for my vices, coffee is not a vice. I want the caffeine. Smoking's not a vice. I want the nicotine. These are drugs that I believe are genuinely good for me. The only vice, I guess, is alcohol. And although it looks like in some of my videos I drink a lot, that I can drink a lot. I must have the genetic disposition. I can outdrink almost anybody on the planet. I don't truly drink very often.
You don't get drunk.
And I know I'm a professional. So for me to get drunk, it has to be a controlled, closed environment, or I have to have a security team. I will not get drunk
in open.
Never. It's either in my house with armed guards outside, or it's on a yacht, which it's on a yacht, which is in the middle of the ocean. Or it's very difficult for me to get drunk because I don't like to lose control of reality like that. And 9 times, in fact, not 9.999 times out of 10, if I'm drinking, I either have a weapon on me or somebody next to me does.
Yes.
I stick to the base. I have 10 to 15 coffees every day. That's what I have every day. It's the same number. And I don't think I built a tolerance to it, because when I stopped drinking it, I felt the difference. So I know that it's doing something. Yeah. It does something. I quit. It was only 2 weeks ago I did this 1 week no coffee thing. It was garbage. And I did it because I thought, you see these idiots online. They're like, take cold showers, don't drink coffee, read books. I knew they're full of shit because none of them have anything. They're all brokies. Yeah. And if I were to ever meet any of these people in person, these self-help gurus, I could grab them by their necks and I could wring them to death. I know that they're not men, right? Yeah. I could destroy all of them. So I'm not interested in really talking to any of them, but I thought about the coffee thing and I thought, well, my entire reality is caffeinated. Let me try life without it. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
Coffee is a gift from God. Caffeine is beautiful, as is nicotine. Ingest as much as possible. And for any doctor who says that it's unhealthy, meet me in the cage and we'll talk about health. Because if I can still beat the shit out of you, then I don't want to hear your opinions on health. Because I think I'll do just fine against any doctor who says coffee is a bad idea. Firstly, I have nothing bad to say about Elon because Elon's top E, right? I got to show respect where it's due.
Top G, Elon.
Yeah, he's top E. But I think that a strong body is a strong mind.
Yeah.
I think that going to the gym is important for your mental health. It is for me anyway. I train absolutely every single day. I am not on any kind of steroid. I'm not on TRT. I'm not on testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah. I'm not on any kind of pill. I don't even take creatine. I don't take protein powder. Nothing. And a lot of people don't believe that about me. A lot of people say, oh, because there's pictures of me where I'm a big guy. Yeah. I look a bit skinny in a shirt, but they look at me without a shirt on. They're like, wow, you're big. What are you taking, bro?
Yeah.
What are you taking? I'm like,
what's your cycle?
Coffee, cigars, a lot of meat, and hard training. Yeah. And I'm 35 and I've never had a single injection in my body ever. God is my witness. And I say this on podcasts because there's some people who believe I'm not natural for some reason. And it's kind of a compliment, but they believe I'm not natural. And I say this now openly, so if I ever get busted doing these things, you can sit and call me up on it.
True.
I mean, Logan Paul is a steroid head. He's a big, I've told him before I'll fight him if he can piss in a cup, but he can't because he's massively addicted to steroids. Me and him were back and forth. There's a long story with him, and he was kind of cool. And then when the Matrix attacked me, he cucked out and became a complete but he's talking about a boxing match. Yeah, you have to pass a drugs test because if I start taking drugs like you are, Logan, I'll be an animal. I'm God's favorite, right? I'm an animal already. Imagine I was taking drugs on top. Jeez. I'd be an animal. So he's sitting there injecting himself to just get a little bit of muscle. But I never take anything. I've never taken anything, and I say that God is my witness. So I just train hard. And I only train for maybe 45 minutes to an hour each day, every single morning. It's one of the first things I do. I wake up and I train, and what's amazing is I never feel like doing it. Bro. I never want to do it. I wake up and I have work to do. My phone's going off. I got a busy day. I have to do stuff. I'm in a big mansion. There's a Lambo outside. Yeah. There's a nice pool. There's 3 chicks in bikinis chilling. Yeah. They're like, hey, breakfast is ready. And I'm like, nope. I'm going to train. And I don't want to, but I still do it because that's the part of being a man. It's doing what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm in Constanța, Romania, right? I'm in Romania. I was there. This is maybe 8 or 9 years ago. At the time, there weren't so many foreigners who went there. I was in a club, and there was an absolutely beautiful girl, and I went over to her and said, hello, it's nice to meet you. You're absolutely gorgeous. And start talking to her back and forth. I said, can I buy you a drink? Mm. And she said, yes, I'd like this bottle of champagne. And at the time, I didn't have the kind of money I had now. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy you a bottle of champagne. I don't normally drink champagne. I've bought this.
I like beer.
Yeah, I didn't say beer, but I styled it off. I said, so you can't really say that, right? So you have to be smooth about it. I was like, champagne. We should enjoy a bottle of champagne together one day, but I'm about to leave. I just want to come say hello. So we'll do it sometime in the future. You have to be smooth about these things. James Bond, right? Because I didn't want to buy a $1,500 bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
So I styled it off, got her number, left. We're texting back and forth. She seemed like a really nice girl. Absolutely and utterly beautiful. My standards are ridiculously high because I'm not a peasant like everybody else. I'm only associating with women.
I heard only blondes.
I can have anything I want. And I kind of like when they all match. So I live with very, very high standards. So she was truly beautiful. The next day I met her, we had lunch, and again, she tried to kind of hint at this drink, and again, I styled it off. That night I saw her on another man's table, and they were buying all this champagne. And I was kind of a little bit annoyed because I thought I bagged like a really beautiful girl, and she's now on this table, and all this champagne's coming. So whatever, it is what it is. I left it. I still text her a little bit back and forth, and it became this running joke. She was like, why won't you buy me a single bottle of champagne? You're a man. Why won't you buy a single bottle of champagne? And she was also she was quite inquisitive. She was like, so what's your job? What are you doing here? She was trying to ask me lots of questions, and I wouldn't answer any of them. I'd always style it off with a clever answer.
Yeah.
Like, what's your job? It's like, I'm a priest or blah, blah, blah. So, Yeah, we ended up becoming really good friends throughout the summer, and eventually she came open to the fact that she's there specifically to make men spend money, and she had a script. And she said, "You're the only." When she drunk a little bit of champagne that night. To be fair, she was a little bit drunk. She said, "You're the only man I've ever met."
She
who
opened
didn't,
up.
Yeah, you're the only man I've ever met who didn't follow my script, Andrew. I said, "What's the script?" And she showed me in her. It was Facebook at the time. She showed me in her Facebook inbox. The man would get her number. They'd meet the next day. Then after about 2 or 3 dates, she'd say, "I can't fall in love with somebody who lives far away. Last time, I've only been with one man in my whole life. Last time I was with a man like this, my heart was broken." And she'd copy and paste this long message. The guy would start begging for her back. She would wait about a day and a half and then hit him back and go, "Okay, I'll come meet you, but I don't want to come on my own because I'm falling in love with you. I want to bring some friends and we'll go to this place." And they'd go and spend more money on more girls, more champagne, more meals. And it was this script, and every man was falling for it in exact order, and it was copy and paste messages, and every single dude fell for it, just chasing this girl, promising her anything, taking her and all her friends to whatever place she needed to go that day for the commission. And this is like 8-9 years ago, and she said she was making like $20,000 to $25,000 a month in commissions, and she's some Ukrainian chick. She's like 19, like bought her family a house.
Wow.
But like literally enriched her family
Top
off the
G
back.
woman stuff.
Yeah, top G. Yeah, she was absolutely amazing at manipulating, but it just showed how stupid men were. Every single man was falling for the same trick, all of it, head to toe. And after that, we got a bit closer, and she was we fell in love, let's say. And it was kind of funny because we spent the whole summer together. I never bought her a drink. I never bought her one.
No
It became a thing where I said, "I'm not buying you a thing.
Because you didn't want to be one of those guys.
Tap water only." So I was like, "I'll get you tap. You want tap water?" And she was like, "Oh," and made a big joke of it. She was buying the drinks because she had more money than me. I think it's I mean, it was going on for weeks. There's a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not saying don't buy girls drinks. In fact, if I meet a girl now and she wants a drink, I'll certainly buy her one. It was just a very unique scenario, unique circumstance that kind of led into a story. But the night she was going through those Facebook messages, it was crazy how quickly and instantly men will simp and beg and cry over a girl they've known for 3 days, promising, "Oh, we're going to be special. I'll take care of you."
I think she's the one.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be one person on the planet you're truly compatible with. I think there's going to be, a few. The world's over in 2030. Why go to the gym? Why get strong? Why work hard? Why get rich? Why be funny? Why be charismatic? Why do anything? It doesn't matter. The world's going to end. Sit in your pod. Wait for the food delivery. That's what they want from all of us. They want all of us to have absolutely no ambition and to sit there and be slave-minded. And it's very difficult to resist enslavement if you need the government to eat. I think all governments on the planet are constantly trying to encroach on the freedom of their populace, trying to get closer and closer to some version of communism where you have to absolutely and utterly comply or you literally do not have food to eat. And that's what they want. And it's an obvious agenda. It's a very obvious agenda, and it plays into the worst characteristics of the human psyche. Because there are a lot of people out there who, when given the excuse to be lazy, will be lazy. When given the excuse for why they're not successful, will take that excuse and use it as a shield for their own glaring, obvious failings. And we're now building two camps. We have the camps of losers and winners, and the winners are telling the truth, and the losers are just adopting all of the slave mind programming. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more dangerous now to even say the truth because these losers band together like hyenas and attack anybody who stands up and tells the truth, like they've attacked you and like they've attacked me. The people who are trying to put me in jail are not good people. They're not good people. They're not honest, hardworking, God-fearing people. They're evil people, and they know exactly what they're trying to do. It's scary. Absolutely, they don't have God on their side. The moral arc of the universe bends towards truth. It takes unlimited energy to continue to propagate a lie. It's very difficult to do. It goes against the law of physics. If you put a lie into the universe, you need to continually push that lie to keep it afloat. It's like a hot air balloon. You need to keep that engine running. You need to keep the flame going permanently to keep it floating. Because as long as people use their own eyes and their own senses and eventually begin to think, the lie is going to sink and it's going to disappear. And there's certainly been a shift in consciousness in the last 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years ago, it was much worse than it is today. And I feel like I said this when I was canceled in August of last year. I was doing Patrick Bet-David's podcast, and I said, they are making a mistake. When you have power, the only guarantee to power is that one day you will lose it. And the quickest way to lose power is to overuse it, to overreach, to overstretch. When you do that, everyone loses faith in you. For you to have power, you must have the faith of the populace. Once people understand that you're abusing your power and it's no longer a fair system, they're no longer interested in what you have to say or your power mechanisms. And then you can only resort to complete brutality. And I think it's going to be quite
difficult for them to do now that the consciousness of people are waking up. But certainly, yeah, I feel like we are winning now. I feel like you and I have been through the trenches and suffered the absolute worst of it 5 to 6 years ago. And now most people understand. They overstepped with the COVID lies. They overstepped with the censorship. They overstepped with the election lies. They overstepped trying to say anybody who tells the truth is a sexual predator. They overstepped by protecting all the people who we know do genuinely bad things they refuse to talk about. They overstepped so many times now that people have a thirst in their hearts to know what's really going on. And that's our chance to finally make it clear to people. And I pray we can finally get through to people to a level where next time they try the next big psyop, which we can talk about, which might be coming up soon, everybody rejects it. Because there's something really important, Alex. We talk always about who controls the world. But ultimately, without our compliance, they can't control anything. We control the world. A mask mandate is a piece of paper. It's a piece of fucking paper. That's it. It's cowardice that makes that have power. If everyone wasn't a coward and stood up and said, no, I'm sorry, I respectfully decline, then it's over. We still control the world, but that's why they're trying their absolute best to make sissies of all of us. And it's very interesting we say this because I don't want anyone to think we're inciting violence because that's not what we're doing. Even during the last COVID lockdown, you can resist so easily in a non-violent way. If I went into a store and they said, do you have a mask? Put a mask on. Don't have one, sorry. Okay, I'll give you one. Okay, give me one. And then I wouldn't walk over to take it. No, I stand there and make them walk across the store to give it to me. Then I take it and I half hang it on my ear and I don't wear it properly. Then they come up to me and say, oh, you need to wear it properly. I say, oh, okay. Then I don't wear it properly. Then I take it off completely. Then they come up to me and go, oh, where's your mask? I say, sorry, I dropped it on the floor and it's dirty. I need another one. Then they have to go back behind the counter, get another mask, walk back to the other side of the store, give it to you. Make them work. Make them work. If they want you to wear a mask so fucking bad, make them walk a marathon. Make them work. Don't make it easy for them. If they want to stand there and try and make a slave of you, at least make them do something for it. I had people walking back and forth around stores getting me 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different masks. I never even put it on because I dropped it on the floor, right? We're all scared of germs now. I can't wear a mask from the floor. It might have COVID on it. Don't come too close. Social distancing. Just put the mask there. I'll collect it in a second. Make them work for it. That's civil disobedience. If everyone did that, imagine you worked in a store and every person who came in did what I just described. Are you going to really run around for 12 hours a day? You'll give up after 2 hours. But the reason it doesn't happen, the reason they get away with this is because everybody just complies. Mask on, okay. Like, I'm not describing anything violent. I'm not describing anything that will get you arrested. I'm not describing anything that will even cause an argument. I'm just talking about using your fucking brain and having some balls. And it's very important if they try and bring this back. I really pray that this will be a breaking point for their entire apparatus, because I think enough people are awake now to absolutely and utterly resist. That was a huge psyop, and I love to think, and I hope I'm right, I love to think that anybody who lived through that has learned their lesson. And like I said, the number one guarantee of power is that you'll lose it, because eventually with power you will overstep and you will overreach. And if they try another lockdown, another pandemic, I think it's the biggest overreach they could possibly try. So I hope they do it, and I hope that people do what they're supposed to do, which is say no. Yeah, so it's kind of scary because we are the tip of the spear, and when you're the leader, when you're the lead of the charge, they want you dead first, right? It's kind of like the old adage. They said if 5 guys are going to start a fight on you, hit the biggest one first. And that's why they're coming for men like us, because they know we're inspiring a resistance. And the resistance we're inspiring is nothing more than self-respect and parameters for what you'll accept from a government, and to stand up and say, I'm a sovereign individual and I'm allowed to decide what goes in my blood. Imagine thinking you're not allowed to decide what goes inside of your own blood. Imagine waking up and saying, my blood is not mine, it belongs to the government. It's absolutely insane. But what they're going to try and do next is control the money. Because when they control the money, they can control where you go, and they can control whether you eat or not. And I don't know about anybody else, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, in the last 3 to 4 years, the banking sector has become more strict than it's ever been. It's become harder and harder to not only make money, but move money and have money. 10 years ago, if you wanted to do $1 million wire, it was a headache. Nowadays, if you want to do $1 million wire internationally, let's say I want to say $1 million to, I don't know, Turkey or Qatar or Australia, anywhere, the amount of headache, paperwork, delays, it's nearly impossible to do. It's getting harder and harder because they want to control the money. If they control the money, they control absolutely not only everything else by extension. So it's CBDCs that's coming. The banking system locking people down for dissidents is, we already know is happening. And once they control the money, then they're going to come along and say, don't worry, you're allowed money if you do this. And from there, they're going to expand out. I don't think most people understand that absolutely every single thing they talk about propagating and pushing to the populace is a Trojan horse. I was arguing about climate change with someone the other day, and I said, listen, I love the environment. I would hate for nature to be destroyed. I love nature. Nobody with a sane mind dislikes nature. The problem is we can't make any laws to protect nature because every single time we do, they Trojan horse it with some garbage that has nothing to do with the actual issue and is purely agenda driven to destroy my life and make me a slave. So what can we do now? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to come along, control all the money, and they're going to say, because of the climate, you're allowed money if you don't drive your car very often. And that has nothing to do with saving the earth. It's everything to do with controlling you. And that's the problem. Now we have people in charge of us that we can't even trust to fix any issue ever because all they're interested in is injecting Trojan horses and destroying our lives. It's incredible. Has a border and by extension no longer has a legal system. Because without a border, you don't have a legal system. You don't even have a nation anymore. You want to talk about rape without consent? You absolutely utterly nailed it. And they use this word and they use this attack on any strong man primarily as an effort to damage masculinity. They make it out to the world that if you're a man who is traditionally masculine, who stands up, who is strong, who is not apologetic for his opinions, then by extension, you must be a rapist. And they do this so that men are afraid to act this way because that, once again, pushes the idea that men should be sissies and soft, so it's easier for them to have slave-minded individuals. What's actually crazy is this. Women want men who are masculine. The kind of man who is not going to rape is the kind of man who has choices and genuine access to females who love him. Why would a man who is successful in all realms of human endeavor, including his relationships with females, ever rape anybody? No, I'll tell you who's a rapist. The liberal who eats the bugs, who's fat and ugly, with no personality, who's sad on antidepressants. No woman wants him. He's the kind of guy who has to rape to have sex, not the traditionally masculine, toxically male, the man they try and say. So it's absolutely and utterly, it's a mind attack. It's a psyop by saying if you stand up and you have muscles and you have a nice car and you're rich and you're strong and you have opinions and you say, yeah, this is what I believe and I'm not sorry for it, that means you are a bad person and by extension a rapist. And what they're trying to do is stop men from acting that way. They want all of us afraid. Without fear, none of this works. I think it was Goebbels who said it. I don't know if your research team can find it. Goebbels said it. You lie and you lie on repeat and you make them afraid. And that's all you have to do. Nazi Germany literally said the exact same thing and look what they did to the world. And it's amazing that the tactics haven't changed. The apparatus, the MSM hasn't changed. It's the same game. It's exactly the same game it's always been. Well, that's the thing, because they want me to cower or cuck. What they're trying to do is because I inspire so many people. If they can break me, they can break the souls of millions of people by extension. And also what they're trying to do, they're hoping that I will believe I can reason with these psychopaths. I don't think I can reason with people who hate me. They hate me. They hate everything I stand for. They hate the way I walk. They hate the way I look. They hate the way I think. They hate my ideas. They hate my relationships with my brother. They hate my friends. They hate everything about me. I have no interest in trying to reason with them. I'm not going to stand up and say, well, maybe if I talk a little bit softer, they'll be nice to me. No, I don't operate under that frame. It's like Churchill. Churchill said, no, we're not going to negotiate with Hitler. There's no point in negotiating with this man. I'm not here to negotiate with anybody. If you're going to destroy me, do it. I'm going to hold my head high. I'm going to walk into court with my head held high before I get dragged off to jail. I'm not going to cuck or cower because that's a spiritual loss. You can do what you want to my body. You can put me in jail, but you won't break my spirit. A spiritual victory is enough for me. I know I'm innocent. I know I've done nothing wrong. I know I tell the truth. I know I help people. I'm not going to back down or cower or give up. And Trump knows he's innocent too. And sometimes in these scenarios where you don't stand a chance, technically, legally, when you're dealing with apparatus of man, which has been rigged against you because humans are imperfect, all you can do is look to God and understand the truth of your heart, the truth of your soul, and aim for a spiritual victory. And you have a spiritual victory of a man, as a man, by having your head held high. If they were about to shoot me in the head by a firing squad, I would go down with my head held high with a smile on my face. I'm not gonna fucking cry. You're gonna shoot me anyway. You're going to shoot me anyway. So they're going to do what they're going to do to me, and they're going to do what they do to Trump anyway. The best thing we can do is act like men. because that pleases God. And you know what's funny? What's funny about the world is if you please God, if you act with honor and integrity and you do the right thing and God likes you, it's amazing how favored you become. Some people will call it lucky. I don't call it that. I call it favored. When you act the right way, it's amazing what God will give you. And almost sometimes in impossible odds, you manage to pull it off. And people go, how did they do that? Because you made God happy.
I want you to submit to me your vision for your dream life. Every time I ask somebody what their dream life is, they give a very lazy, sloppy answer. Well, I want to be rich. How rich? What does rich mean? How much money? Is it in liquid cash? Is it in stocks? Is it in crypto? In which country is it held? How do you diversify to protect yourself against matrix attacks? Who's your accountant? What's the name of the banks your money's held in? What are you going to buy? For you to become rich and successful is going to require pain and suffering, and you have to understand exactly what your dream life is to make the pain and suffering worthwhile. Think about it. Have you ever been to the gym and seen a person in fantastic physical condition? They're strong, they're ripped, they're large. And you say to them, how did you get so big and strong? And they say, I don't know. Oops, it kind of just happened. Or have you ever found a really rich man or a very successful man and said, how did you become rich and successful? And he goes, I don't know, bro. I just woke up one day and it kind of happened and now I'm living my dream life. No. There is a very detailed plan and roadmap. For you to become strong, you must eat a certain way. You must train a certain way. For you to become rich, you must earn money a certain way. You must understand exactly how you're going to make money, whether you're going to be a public-facing figure like me or a man of the shadows with millions of dollars. Unknown, but extremely powerful. You have to design your dream life. What house are you going to live in? Who's your woman going to be? Is she blonde? Is she brunette? What car are you going to drive? Have you even gone on the internet and spec'd your car? You can design your dream car right now for free on the internet, and you can choose the color. You can choose the wheels. You can choose the carbon. Is it a Lamborghini? Is it a Ferrari? Is it a McLaren? How much does it cost to the dollar? You talk about your dream life. You don't even know what your dream life is. How do you expect to get to a destination when you don't know where you're going? Do you understand? I designed my dream life long ago, before I was known, before I had anything. And I worked very hard with a very concise, very detailed plan to ensure I ended up exactly where I wanted to be. And you're not going to end up where you want to be if you don't know where it is. So, for that reason, I want you to submit to me your dream life. I want you to be as detailed as possible. Do you have children? What house you're in? What your woman looks like? What's her personality like? Where did you meet her? What kind of person is she? What car do you drive? Who are your friends? Who are your network? What kind of men are you hanging around with? How are you making money? Are you known? Are you not known? What is your ideal job? How much money do you want to make a month? How much money do you have saved? You have to understand exactly what your dream life is. This is more than just an exercise in understanding how to become a successful person. This is an exercise in life. Without diligent planning, without concise, compendious plans, the chance of you achieving nearly anything is zero.
God is watching all of these things. And these people who think they can just throw people in jail on some garbage are going to see that there is a karmic retribution in the universe and that the truth is on our side. And I know exactly how Trump feels. Trump is waking up frustrated, angry, but he sees himself serving a purpose higher than these orchestrated, pretend Shakespearean plays, these corrupt systems of man. And he says, you know what? I'm going to walk in there, and the only person I'm interested in pleasing is God. I'm going to walk in there like a man.
The first thing is they have to remove the warrior class from society so they can subjugate everybody.
Right.
It's always been the same. When the Romans would turn up and they'd conquer a Greek town, they'd kill all the military-age males, they'd slash all their necks so that there's never going to be a resistance force against their occupation. So they're trying to demasculinize us all because they intend on making us all slaves. And they don't want men who are going to stand up and resist against them, men like me saying things that they don't like. So they want to just basically turn everyone into eunuchs and cucks. So they sit there and allow that that's what they want. They want you to give up your women and give up control of your family and give up control of your children's minds and give up control of your land to foreign invaders.
Yep.
And they want you to just sit there and accept it all. So they have to remove the masculine spirit because anyone who's remotely masculine is going to say, no, this is my country, my land, my town, my wife, my kids, my house, and you're not going to control any of them, and no one's going to take them off me. So they have to remove that. But also, I think another reason is when laws are made, it's quite annoying that they have to make laws for the group. They can't make laws for the specific. They have to make laws based on the lowest percentile of the population.
Yeah.
I talked about speed limits with this, and it's a very easy example, but I have world champion athlete reflexes. I've done thousands of hours of professional driver training. I have 60 cars. I drive them every day. I am passionate about driving. I have vehicles which can stop at twice the speed a normal car could stop at. The speed limit for me should not be the speed limit for everybody else. I'm better than everybody else in a better machine. But they can't do that. They can't say the speed limit is 50, but Tate can go 100 because Tate is exceptionally intelligent, genius IQ, has an SF90 that has carbon ceramic brakes. He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't take drugs. So Tate can do 100 and you have to do 50. They can't do that. So what they say is we have to make a speed limit for everybody. So the 50 speed limit is based on the woman who drinks on the weekends, who doesn't even like driving, who doesn't pay attention, who listens to her music too loud and does her lip gloss in the mirror as she drives. So they have to make the limit based on the lowest percentage of performers.
Right.
A group can only move as fast as the slowest member.
Right.
So when they make any law, they have to come along and say, who are the lowest performers? Who are the biggest losers in society? Because we have to accommodate for these people.
Very true.
And we have to punish the other people at the top by making this big group law where you have to accommodate for the losers. So you're saying, why is masculinity under attack? Well, they're coming along saying, well, for the group, what's going to be good for the overall group? We don't want certain people to be monumentally successful. We don't want certain people to be outside of this percentile. We don't want certain people to be outside of this parameter. Let's just make a law for the overall group. Let's make rules for the overall group. And they haven't sat there because, I mean, I have to give feminists, although they're idiots, I have to give them credit. I understand what they're trying to do. Feminists, I understand what you're trying to do, but in typical female fashion, you f***ed it up. Because what they're trying to say is, toxic masculinity is a man who gets very angry and is big and aggressive and gets mean and then loses his temper at his wife and beats his wife up. That is toxic masculinity. I agree. So then they say men shouldn't be big and aggressive and mean. But that doesn't work because you need big and aggressive, mean men to protect women. You need big, aggressive, mean police officers and soldiers. So they've come along saying, for the group, we need to make everyone not be big and aggressive and mean anymore because there's a couple idiots who are big, aggressive, and mean and beat the shit out of their wife. That is the wrong solution.
It's a generalization.
It's a generalization.
Yeah.
It's the generalizations that they're scared of, was they don't understand the best men on the planet are big, aggressive, and mean. Those are the best men on the planet. Those are the men they need most. Feminists need big, aggressive, mean men to protect them for their points of view because they can't protect themselves, meaning they have no point of view without men, meaning feminism's a masculine movement anyway.
It is.
The whole world is a masculine movement because men are the only ones who can defend an idea. If you can't defend an idea, you don't have an idea. So all these women, when they sit on these podcasts and they say blah, 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 that's all fine. But please understand, men allow you to say these things and men protect you because otherwise you wouldn't have an opinion. You'd be absolutely subjugated. So that's why they're trying to demasculinize society, because they're making generalized rules based on the lowest percentile of the population. And then, in a more sinister fashion, they're trying to put the entire world into a slavery or a serfdom because, I mean, they've always been looking for control. The elites have always been looking for control. I don't think this is a relatively new thing. We've moved into a very interesting period in human history because what used to happen is the elites would try very hard to subjugate. The people would realize they're being subjugated, or they'd rebel, or they'd get upset. The elites would then be ousted and replaced.
Yep.
So if you had a king in charge of a country and there was a peasant revolt and a civil war and he lost that war, he would end up dead and a new king would come. But I don't think that happens anymore because, firstly, the people who are leading us, we don't know who they are, truly. I mean, I can guess, I can say some names, but that would just accelerate my decline. We don't know where they are. They're not geographically stuck to a particular area. So they could be anywhere doing anything. Could they ever be replaced or changed and the new puppet who comes in truly be different? Well, we've seen some attempts with that, with Trump, for example.
Yep.
Look at what they're doing to him.
Another 40 cases.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So that's an interesting scenario. And it's also a very interesting scenario because we're entering the age of AI. And I feel like usually what happened was the elites would lie to the populace. The populations would wake up because the world is cyclical, right? What we're going through now, I'm sure there's been people who have always believed the world is going to end. I really wake up sometimes, I look around and think this is all about to collapse. It's over. The end times are here. But I'm sure they felt the same in World War II.
Yeah.
I'm sure they felt the same when the Roman Empire was
The
falling.
age of Atlantis. All
Yeah,
of that
I'm sure
stuff.
everyone sat there and thought, this is the end. I'm sure the Romans, when they saw the Roman Empire on fire, saw the barbarians and thought, this is it. This is civilization. It's over now. It's over forever. So we've always felt that way. But I've sit and realized that what would happen is in this cyclical system is that the peasants would rebel against the elites and the elites would be replaced and the elites would come in with perhaps truthful intentions and over time would begin to lie and they'd continue to lie and lie and lie and lie until eventually the population would once again fight against the elites and the elites would be replaced and they'd come along with a version of truth and they'd lie and lie and lie and lie. But now we're entering a period because they've pushed it too far. They've lied too much. Every single thing they say is a lie. Every single system is broken. Nobody stands a chance of getting out the matrix. You're never going to be able to pay off your house. You're going to stay poor forever. Everybody's upset. Everybody wants to rebel. But we can't replace our elites very easily, one. And two, I feel like we've moved paradigm from lying to just brutal force because I think AI is going to be used to force everybody to comply. So it's interesting in only 10 years ago. Well, that's another conversation. Whether AI will become sentient and take them down, I'm not
Skynet,
sure.
right?
Yeah, Skynet. Yeah. And that's very scary to me. But 10 years ago, they want the population to comply with something. They had to lie to you and convince you to do it. And I feel like we're now moving into a new age where they don't need to lie to you. They don't need to convince you to do it. Soon it's going to be, we don't care if you want to do it or not, do it. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food parcel delivered to your 15-minute city pod. It's just going to become brutal force. And they can use AI to do that with police. Once the police are robotic and once they control everywhere we go, once facial recognition cameras are everywhere, once all the cars are electric and once the money's electrical, and once a lot of the populace become useless, which is going to happen by AI as well. All the low-skilled jobs are going to be replaced. The average man's not going to be able to compete in the labor market.
It's already begun.
That's right. So it's going to be a form of communism where you need the government to feed you, and they're only going to feed you if you get the injections they tell you to get. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food allocation. And they're not going to sit there and say, you should get the injection. It's safe and effective. They're going to say, you should get the injection or you're not going to eat. So we're moving to a new era now, a new age where they no longer need deception and sugar-coated lies, and they can rely on brute force and brute computation to force you to comply. And I think it's actually the most scary version of this circle. We talked about how the world is cyclical. Never before in history has humanity been replaced. There's always been a human element, and that's now being removed. So I feel like perhaps this is actually the end of the world this time.
Yeah.
I either want to be filthy rich or flat broke. I feel like slavery's in between. And I said to my brother when we had no money, let's just move to Thailand. Let's just move to Thailand and fight and just live on $50 a day and just run around the beach and have our time back. Like, what are we slaving away a job to pay the rent and then we're broke? I'd rather I either have to feel like I'm going to make it or just quit capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in between. And my father was the same. So he won a chess tournament, a low level one. He made like $3,000 or something. And he said, listen, son, the rent's paid and I either want 100 grand or nothing. It's just who I am. So we went to the casino, lost all the money. The casino's a bad place to go and try to get rich, but that's my dad. Lost all the money. So then we were in Detroit and we were hustling in a park. My dad was a chess park hustler. He'd go into the parks and he'd sit down and say, you all get 10 minutes. I get a minute on the clock. And he'd play 10 games simultaneously while they all had 10 minutes each. And he'd have a minute. And he'd sit there and just smoke them all for money, right? And take all the money in. So, and we'll talk about world level chess players because I'll make it clear. I do not have the intellect to be a world level chess player. Even though I have the genetics, it's something you're born with. It's kind of like being a human calculator. It's something in your brain. You can't train. It's like learning to sing. You can learn to sing, but you're not going to be Mariah Carey unless you're born with it, right? The way his mind worked was a different level of intellect, and I don't possess it. And that's a blessing and a curse because I'm better socially than he was. He was not very sociable as a person. And in these high-level chess tournaments, a lot of them are not very sociable people. And we could talk about that at length, but so he made some money and we went to a gas station in Detroit. And I remember this vividly. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I went to the back, to the coolers. I opened to get a drink and I heard all this noise. And when I turned around, my dad was fighting 3 men. And I don't know how the fight started. I don't know where it came from. He had one of them up against the door and he had him up like this and he was biting his face. And the other 2 are punching my dad in the back of the head. And I'm a kid. And I just stood there like, the fuck? And the Korean guy behind is shouting, stop, 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 stop. And I'm standing there and I didn't know what to do. So I kind of went to walk over. And although my dad was getting punched, and although he was biting this guy, I remember him turning to me and saying, stay there. And went back to biting the guy. I don't know the fuck. To this day, I don't know how the fight started.
Korean guy came around the back, kind of got in the middle. The guys went out, they threatened to kill him. We're gonna fucking kill you, like gangbangers. We're gonna fucking kill you. We're gonna fucking kill you. My dad had blood all over his face, some from the guy, some from him. His eye was black, his eye socket got fractured, his eye was closed, his bumps all back the head. So we stood there and the Korean guy started panicking, saying, my store damaged, my store, wait police, wait police, wait police. And I think my dad was a bit disoriented. He never went down, but I could tell he was a bit dizzy. So my dad stood there and he stood like this, like in like military position, stood in the corner of the place and we waited for the police officer to come. And the police officer came and start doing reports, asked what happened, start talking to reports, etc. And the police officer said to my dad, so you fought these 3 guys. He goes, okay, well, what's your job? My dad said, I'm a chess player. And the police officer said, well, maybe you should have been something else. And my dad said, my unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. I remember him saying that was his answer to the police officer. And the police officer was like,
yeah, how do you spell perspicacity?
Okay, bro.
Unfatigability.
He wrote it down.
Yeah.
And that was a saying that my dad started using then on after, and I adopted. So that's the only time I ever saw him fight. And he didn't win. I mean, the guy got fucked up, but he didn't go down. I mean, he dealt with all 3 of them, and they left in the end. The individual has to receive that. And also, but I think the modern world's changed because there's a lot more opposite programming to your parents than there used to be. I used to go to school, finish school, come home, play chess. I was never really allowed to really watch too much TV. I didn't play Nintendo too much. I played chess. That was it. That's all I really did. So besides the school teacher or the little bit of school I had, I didn't have too much outside programming from the matrix itself. But nowadays, when you're raising a child, it's far more scary because you're trying to teach them things. That's fine. But YouTube's trying to teach them something else. And Netflix trying to teach them something else. And school is trying to teach them something else more than ever before. And on top of that, if you're not a wealthy individual, your wife now has to go to work, right? Because you have 2 incomes to pay the bills. So your children are not even at home with the mother or the woman who adopts with your ideals, because otherwise you wouldn't be together. Now they belong to the state effectively in many different ways. The school raises them, then an aftercare program, then internet raises them. So now you have a very difficult job. And you'll see, even if you look at YouTube now, children disagreeing with their own parents about certain issues, no matter what they are, some topical issues, politics, LGBT, whatever. The parents will say, no, that's not true. Well, I heard in school it's true, because they spend more time inside the matrix than they do with their own parents now. And it's very, very difficult now as a parent to get that hard time with your kid and say, resist that. I want you to be this way. It was easier when I was raised. Now that's scary. I think it's a very, very difficult job parents have now because of that. Because the programming is exceptionally strong because it's entertaining, right? And we've all developed ADHD and we're all glued to social media and addicted to our phones and things are coming through the phone. And that's the argument they tried to use to ban me. I argue that I'm a positive force and there's far more negative forces than me on the internet, which are trying to infect the children than I am. That's the argument I have. I'd argue that I'm the complete opposite to it. But no, my father certainly not really had rage. My father was a super unique individual. It's hard for me to even explain. You have to imagine a big black guy, big physically dominating, dangerous guy who's a chess genius, but also he was extremely condescending, but I understand why he was the way he was. When you're wired like he is, everyone is a moron. And when I say he had photographic memory, everyone goes, oh, I know someone's photographic memory. No, you don't. I'm talking about, what's your phone number? Cool. 6 years later, just on a payphone. Like, it's like, how the fuck? Just everything you told him, he remembered. Everything. And that becomes a detriment because if you remember and you pay attention, if you remember every number plate of every car around you, then you're in a car with the guy and he's like, last Thursday, that car was beside us. Dad, was it? I don't know. Of course you don't know. You don't know, but I do know. That car was beside us next Thursday. Do you believe in coincidences? It's like, well, maybe it is a coincidence. He goes, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then you can't argue with him because you don't know if he's like, well, you're not smart enough to remember all the number plates, son. So you just leave this to fucking me. And then you turn off the road because this dude might be following you. And I'm not saying he was paranoid, but I'm saying the world he lived in was a scary world, if that makes sense. Because he remembered everything all the time. And it also means you can't really function in society because you can't have a job. You can't listen to anybody. You can't socialize with anybody because everyone's a fucking moron. So he had a huge, my father got diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And I do believe he had it, and people say I have it, but I don't. When you have true narcissistic personality disorder, you truly believe you're almost invincible. Does that make sense? Like guns were pulled on him and go, you think that's going to kill me? Shoot me. Shoot me, you fight. And he gets furious. Like, how dare you believe a weapon can kill him? He was fucking enraged. Like, that's who he was.
So yeah, he was a super interesting guy to grow up around because it's weird to be around a dude who's so big and so strong and also so smart, and you have to just accept second place all the time. And then you're arguing about number plates on some fucking Corolla from Thursday, and it's like, so how did you? Once you get past a certain number of million, life's the same. What are you gonna buy? How many steaks can you eat? Like, I don't gamble. I don't take drugs. Like, you eat vodka's cheap. I have my house. I have 27 cars. There ain't nothing to buy. Yeah, I have diamond watches. I'm really, although I talk about making money and I talk like I'm a money oriented person, I do that because you cannot truly escape from the matrix if you're poor, because they use that as a control mechanism against you. But once you get past that, it doesn't matter if you have 50 million or 75 million. Your life's the same. Or 100 million. Your life's the same. I don't need more money. It's not interesting to me. What's interesting to me is living a life that's true to God. I like being able to go to sleep at night knowing I'm happy with myself and who I am. I like knowing the things I say on podcasts are a good, genuine influence on the world. I like if something bad happens to me, which happens to everybody, I can go to sleep knowing that karma is going to reward me because I'm a positive influence. I don't need to sell my soul for money. This is the thing that Logan does not yet understand. He still thinks selling his soul's worth it. It's not worth it for money. I don't need money. It's not about money for me on any level. It never will be. So I do believe saint status is coming. You have a very, very powerful point. And also, this is why you have a level of power control I don't yet have, right? You have a certain status and power, you're right, that I don't yet have. But I do certainly and utterly believe it's coming just because of the feedback I've had. It's been absolutely monumental. On the day of my banning, I got 94,000 emails. 94,000 people took time out of their life to just email me support. It's insane. It's insane. They haven't tricked anybody.
Never know.
But this is the thing that's interesting, because the feminist narrative, when I say things like the male pilot, for example, the feminist narrative is that I'm a controlling man who wants control over women. The actual truth is I'm a protective man who wants to protect. And being a man in a position of protecting is not always a good thing. I feel indebted and have a duty to myself and my honor, meaning that if I'm walking down the street with a beautiful woman and 3 men want to attack her, I have to risk my life now. I can't live my life letting my wife get gang raped on a fucking street and running away. I can't take it as a man. So I have to now die. I have to die or try. I have no choice. So that's my duty. But they'll ignore that part. They'll ignore the part where I risk my life, right? And they'll say, oh, but you just want to be controlling, misogynistic. No, I have a duty to protect. I'm calmer under pressure because I've been in more unfortunate situations. I've had more trauma in my life, which has trained me to be more calm under pressure. I would hate to meet a woman who's been through as much trauma as I have. That's not the kind of, that wouldn't make her a good woman. I don't think women need trauma at that level. I don't want women who've been stabbed. There's no need for that. But I have been through it. So I think that in my experience, extrapolation, that men who are successful, a lot of them have been through enough for me to trust them more in a high pressure situation. And like I said, this comes with massive responsibility. This comes with massive detriments and downsides, right? And the feminists are like, no, you're controlling. It's not about controlling. It's about duty. There was no feminist on the Titanic. Then men can die. There's no feminists to this day in Ukraine. The Ukrainian women can leave. You'll see them partying in Warsaw and Prague. Ukrainian men can't leave the country. They're dying in a ditch. They have to stay and fight. Not a single feminist is demanding that the women stay and fight. Not a single one. They don't give a fuck when it turns real. Once it turns hot, then it's woohoo, straight to, what do you want, a sandwich? Sure. Well, what do you want, a sandwich, sir? What do you need? Then it all goes back. The closer you are to the real world, the closer people instantly get into their gender roles, because otherwise they get annihilated in real time. That's another thing I said when I was getting called misogynistic and I was arguing with feminists. I said, traditionally men are the leaders. And in ancient societies, men were in charge. That's because men are oppressive. You've oppressed us forever. That's their narrative. Their narrative is that we've oppressed women forever. I said, no, we've protected and provided for you forever. The reason we are leaders is because if we align with our gender roles, a man's more likely to lead, and that gives us a more competitive chance. In the olden world, where all the empires were currently fighting, if you're not as competitive as possible, you're going to be annihilated. I would argue that perhaps there were some civilizations where women were in charge. But we don't know who they are, and we can't discuss their history because they were fucking annihilated in real time by the ones where the men were in charge. Because you are hyper-competitive. You're at your optimum when men are in charge. That's just the optimum of the gender roles. That's the way it works. I don't believe we've been oppressing you since the dawn of human time. I disagree. I believe we've been working hard, protecting, providing for you. If men were truly oppressive to women, why don't we send the women to war? Women on women, it's fair, right? We can send all the women to war in Ukraine, all the women to war in Russia. They can die, and we can sit and we can chill, and we can go to Warsaw and drink vodka. We don't do that. the men of Ukraine and the men of Russia are dying to protect their women. And then they want to sit and say that we're bad? It's a completely skewed worldview. Whenever they come along and say that we're oppressive and that we have the most money and all this bullshit, it's a lie. We are going out of our way and giving up our lives to protect and provide. And this is where it comes to some of the other things that they said against me. I've said a man has a degree of authority over something he has responsibility for. They took this and they used it and said that I think that men have authority over women. It's not what I said. I said if I have responsibility for something, I must have a degree of authority over that thing. If I have a car, for it to be parked in the wrong place or for me to drive too fast, whatever, for me to be responsible for the actions of that car, it must be my car. If it's parked in the wrong place, but it's not mine and I'm not allowed to drive it, then I'm not held accountable. For me to be accountable, I have to have responsibility. By extension, that gives me a degree of authority. So what I was saying is, if a woman comes to me and lives with me and I pay the bills and she travels the world with me and she flies on jets and we go to boats and she's taken care of, I'm responsible for her safety if we walk the street at night. I ensure her life is in perfect order. I have a degree of authority where I can say, you're not going to go out at night by yourself. It's dangerous. Or we're not going to go to this country right now. It's dangerous. That's a degree of authority that I have that comes with my responsibility from a protective manner. That does not mean I am oppressive. That does not mean I'm misogynistic. It just means that responsibility and accountability are linked and they can't be decoupled. A captain goes down with the ship because the captain is responsible for what happens on the ship. If the captain gives orders and everyone ignores him, then he doesn't go down with the ship, does he? He has authority because he is responsible. The two things are the same. And once again, people have misunderstood what I've said. And that's what I said in a healthy relationship, perhaps in my relationships. Let's talk from a personal perspective because then I can't be attacked. In my relationships, I am responsible for the emotional security and for the physical security and the fiscal responsibility, the fiscal security of any woman I'm with. And by extension, I have a degree of authority over her to make sure that we as a couple proceed and progress in the best possible way. It's not going to be 50-50 if I'm in charge of the most important things. It's going to be like, listen, I love you very much. I respect what you're saying and you're totally right about this. But on this one point, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the man. We're doing it this way. The combination of both, I think it's certainly on him to earn it, but also the matrix programming is counter to him. The matrix programming is trying to tell him that he shouldn't be allowed to be the man of the house, that he shouldn't be allowed to have any kind of authority in any regard. He shouldn't be allowed to be able to say what happens. The matrix programming is saying the absolute opposite all the time. And if that's getting into your woman and you don't have that much influence, and that's getting into all your children, you don't have that much influence, now you're coming home to a household where everyone just thinks you're the dude who should just fucking work. You're just a worker droid. You're the slave. You're the robot. And your feelings don't matter and your authority doesn't matter and get fucked. And this is very conscious. If you watch any Netflix show, the mother is the smart one and the man is the bumbling idiot. Turn on a show. I dare you, turn on a family show. The mother is the one, hey, calm down, I'm smart. And the man's like, oh, beer. Watch any of these shows. They're
Family Guy, The Simpsons, Married with Children.
Any of it. All of it. They're reducing the man to just a bumbling idiot. And it's very hard, I think, for a lot of men to accept being in a position of constant disrespect. I'll tell you this now. If I had to choose a long-lasting marriage with a woman who loved me or a woman who truly respected me, I might choose respect over love. Even though they're the same thing for a woman because she loves you, she respects you by default. But if I had to choose, I'd choose respect. I've been through too much and worked too hard and go through too much in day-to-day life to come home to my house and be having battles over asinine bullshit. I take care of you and I love you with all of my heart. I would die for you. If someone broke into this house, I would engage the invader and die. Please just cook dinner, please. What do you want from me? What more can I do for you? And once they feel disrespected, this is another thing about the world that a lot of people don't understand. It's disrespect that will drive a man to the most heinous of crimes. It's disrespect that starts the school shooter bullshit. It's disrespect that makes men go to jail for life sentences. It's disrespect. When you truly disrespect a man in a public and permanent way, that's when they switch. That's why I'm so respectful in public. You don't know who the fuck you're talking to. He might be on his last fucking straw. And you just disrespected, hey, you're a fucking bitch anyway, you're skinny motherfucker, fuck you. You don't know. That might be the last time he heard it. I've had enough. You don't know. Disrespect is dangerous, right? And in a household where you're constantly disrespecting a man, he's going to end up depressed and sad for even accepting it. Men just want to feel respected. It's not that hard to do. If you truly, I say to any woman watching this, if you truly love your man, it would be so easy for you to just make him feel respected. It doesn't even take actions. You can do it with basic words. Ask his opinion on something, big him up once in a while. And because we're supposed to be supermen and we purport ourselves as supermen and we're stoic, but we talked earlier about how we still feel everything. So when you're a strong man, especially, they're like, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Be nice to the dude. You'd be surprised how far you get. But this is why I think most men walk out of marriages, because they're like, you know what? I'm not getting any respect here. I get more respect from this dickhead stripper, 18-year-old hoe for throwing money at her than I do giving money to my own wife. Where am I being respected? Well, at least she's smiling at me. She ain't smiled at me in years. And it gets to a point where it's just like, well, I want to feel respected now. I'm working my ass off. I'm out here on the streets. I'm going to the sewers and shit. Where's my respect at? And that's what I think it really comes down to. I think men function on respect. And respect is the number one trigger that'll make a man do heinous crimes. And it's also the thing that will make us do the bravest, most honorable things. What did I say about protecting my wife from trying to rape her in a situation on the street? I can't respect myself, and I won't be respected by society if I don't die. So I will stand and die. I can't say, oh, there's 3 of them. I can't do it because my self-respect and respect of the world, nah, that's Tate's girl and he ran away. I can't take it. I have to die. I can't live that way. So it's like honor. It's like Hirokari, or what about the Japanese thing with the sword? You can't take the dishonor of losing. Absolutely, they commit suicide.
God is going to test you, and he's going to see if you really are the man you say you are. It's easy to say you're a tough guy, then God's going to put you in a position where you get a chance to prove you're a tough guy. I didn't miss a single day's training. I did not miss a single day's push-ups in that cell. I wasn't too depressed to train. I wasn't too sad to train, too anxious to train, too frustrated to train. I trained endlessly every single day. And it's interesting you talk about movies because it's true. Every single hero in every single movie goes through adversity. There's never been a hero movie where all he does is win. No, to be a hero, you have to suffer. And this can be extrapolated out, not just about my life, but about all men out there. If you're suffering in some degree, even if you're a normal guy with a normal job and you're suffering at your job, or you've had your heart broken because your girl left you, or whatever, if you're suffering, that's part of your hero's journey. There is no hero's journey without suffering. If you have an easy life the whole way through, you never get to be a hero. That's the whole point of being a man, is that you're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to eat pain for breakfast. You're supposed to come and grow into a better version of yourself. That's exactly what life's supposed to be about as a man. And another thing I want to say, when you mentioned that movie that popped to my head, I find it amazing that men will sit and watch movies about prisoners of war in Japan, or watch movies about men who go to war and risk their lives, or watch all these hero movies, and they have admiration for the hero, and they believe themselves to be some version of a hero, and then they're too afraid to say no to putting on a mask. If you're not going to say no to putting on a mask, don't watch hero movies anymore, because you're certainly not a hero. You are one of the villains. You're not even one of the important villains. You're not even one of the villains with a name. You're the stupid little henchmen who get beaten up. Those guys who are on screen for a flash of a second and die without consequence. Nobody even cares or mentions them again. Their family don't even get to give them a funeral. They're nobodies. You're a nobody villain. You're not even an important one. The important villains, we know their names. You're a number. You're not a name. If you're going to watch superhero movies, don't put a mask on your fucking face. And if you want to be a superhero in life, you need to understand that for 80% of the movie, you're going to suffer. For 80% of the movie, you're going to lose. Watch any superhero movie. For 80% of the movie, it is nothing but pain and frustration and difficulty. And when your life is that way, you have a chance to grow into something fantastic, and you should thank God for every difficult thing he puts in your path. Yeah, so I knew the guards were watching me, and I'm stubborn, and I believe that every time I did push-ups and they saw me doing them, I believed in my heart it annoyed them. And I am a very stubborn man, because they wanted me to be sad and broken. But every time they saw me, I was sweating and training. And every single time they'd check, they saw nothing but a lion who refused to stop doing push-ups. And they didn't want to do push-ups. They were too lazy. They're sitting around. They're the guards. They're not doing anything. And every single time they checked me for weeks and weeks and weeks, all I did was train. And I found the motivation to do it by knowing that it bothered them that I refused to quit. I'm stubborn like that. I don't even know if it's true. All I know is that I can adopt a mental model which makes me as competitive as possible, and I decided my push-ups bothered them, and they were the ones who were keeping me locked in a room, so I will do push-ups at them. I didn't do push-ups for me. I did push-ups at them endlessly. If I was awake, I was doing push-ups, or I was resting, preparing for my next set at them. It was my only weapon of defiance.